Good morning, good morning, good morning. Once again, we're gathered together for our virtual Bible study. We're prayerful that you are staying safe, that you are exercising all of the precautions and abiding by the government stay home guidelines. We need you to obey the laws of the land and to keep yourself safe. Today, we're going to continue in our study of the giants of faith from Hebrews chapter 11. Thus far, we've learned that faith is the thing upon which our hope stands. Without faith, there's no reason for any hope. It's because of faith, the evidence that the things that we don't see, things like the end of the promises of God or the presence of God, those are real to us because of our faith. We've seen that faith is more than just believing in God, but faith is relying on God. Now, in this letter, Paul argues that since the elders obtained a good report from their faith, that we too can gain a good report from our faith. He then begins to scroll through Hebrew history and point out the delivered ancients. These historic characters would be well known to his readers. And he points out that the things that they did, the things that they accomplished, and the things that they were known for was because of their faith. He spoke of Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, and Sarah. We've read their stories and seen their faith. We've even noted the faith of Isaac in Abraham's story. Faith pleases God. He desires his people to rely on him and not ourselves. We saw that early with Israel in the wilderness. God sent manna every morning, and he wanted Israel to rely on him to provide for them every morning. Don't save any over from last night, because in the morning it'll be filled with worms and you will have exhibited a lack of faith. Jesus, in his model prayer, exhorted his disciples to say, "Give us this day our daily bread." That shows a reliance on God. Now, we're not faced with these types of tests that these ancients faced. All we're asked to do is to believe God. The more he did for Abraham, the more his faith grew. Paul is trying to convince the reader that there's a reward for faith in God. You might not understand how or know when, but here's another example of what God's faithful servant looks like. Picking up our study at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 20, the text says, "By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come." The background for this passage is found in Genesis chapter 27, verses 1 through 29. No doubt a familiar story with most of you, but let's just read it for context. "And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his eldest son, and said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father will peradventure feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. And I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loveth. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared unto the hand of her son Jacob. He came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Jehovah thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Jehovah hath blessed. Therefore, God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Now, some of the mysteries of God's plan is shown here with Isaac blessing Jacob. It has to be God's plan, because what God does not cause to happen, he allows to happen. Now, even though lying and deception were used on Isaac, the blessing was still passed on to Jacob. Rebekah was deceptive. Isaac was deceptive, but the blessing was given by faith. Faith can stand whatever we do. Remember, God made a promise. He will fulfill his promises, regardless of our actions. And what the history of God in the Old Testament tells us, it is that God keeps his promises. If he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, you can take him at his word. Anybody here believe God is still with us? Look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshiped, leaning upon the top of his staff. We've seen the faith of Joseph after his treatment that he received at the hands of his brethren. Where'd he get it? He got it from his father. Look at Genesis chapter 48, verses 1 through 20. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick. And he took him with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. They shall be mine, and thy issue which thou begettest after them shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. All right. Now, Jacob tells Joseph, you got two sons born while you were here in Egypt. I'm going to take them as my sons. And any children you have after them will be counted as your children in the inheritance of their brethren. Now, the reason for this declaration is because Reuben, the oldest, was disowned because he slept with his father's concubine. The oldest always got a double portion of the inheritance. And Jacob is saying, no, I'm going to take Reuben's inheritance and give it to your sons. He takes the double portion and gives it to his favorite son Joseph for his two boys. Genesis 48, verse 7. And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come into Ephrath. And I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same is Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them, and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God hath showed me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly. For Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. Now, Jacob had already seen the delivering power of God in so many ways. When you look back at Jacob's life, you see he was on the run from his brother after that deceptive act of stealing his birthright and the blessing. But God blessed him. He was deceived by his father-in-law while working for a wife, but God blessed him. He was cheated out of his wages, but God blessed him. He was caught trying to flee his father-in-law, but God blessed him. 2 wives, 12 sons, many servants, and great possessions. God blessed him over and over again. Many of you may even remember when he did come back into Canaan and he was afraid of running into Esau. They told him Esau was coming with an army of men. He was afraid that Esau was coming to kill him, but God blessed him. He now calls on that same God to bless his grandsons. I tell you, I'm convinced that if we would show our faith to our children and grandchildren, they will one day learn how we got over. It's our responsibility, and it should be our joy, to tell of the Savior and to tell of his favor. Folk, we got to let our young people know who we're trusting in and why we're trusting in them. And then they will begin to see the evidence in our lives and in their own lives. And hopefully their faith will grow as well. The examples of faith that we've seen thus far are heroic levels of faith. Noah, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, and Jacob. If they could rely on God for those big things, can we rely on him for some big things that we're facing right now? Many are without jobs. Many are afraid to go out in public. Many don't have the necessities of life. Going to the grocery store, even with money, if the shelves are empty, you can't buy what you need. People, we need to rely on God. I hope that your faith is increasing. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 22. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. Look at the faith of Joseph in Genesis chapter 50, verses 24 through 26. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you. Look at that faith, y'all. And ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Now here's a faith that is the evidence of things not seen. So sure, so certain was Joseph that God would indeed give his people the land that he made them promise to take him with them when they leave. When would that be? He didn't know. How would that happen? He didn't know. Who would lead them out? He didn't know. But what he did know is that God would fulfill his promise. How did he know? He knew by faith. And after giving that charge, his brethren, his descendants did exactly what he made them promise they would do. Exodus chapter 13, verse 19. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 23. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. This faith was the faith of Moses' parents. Exodus chapter 1, verse 22, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Talking about the Hebrew children, because they were growing so rapidly, and they were getting out of control in the land. Here's the reason Moses had to be hidden, because of this command from Pharaoh. Exodus chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. And there went out a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. The child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. Again, acting upon their faith. Moses' parents refused to murder the child. They placed him in the river by faith, and their faith was rewarded. Can you imagine the joy in that household? They bring the child home to be raised in Pharaoh's house under better conditions than they could provide. His own mother was hired and paid to raise him, and he won't be killed. Church, this is another example of the power of faith in God. I'm praying that your faith is increasing through these lessons. I'm praying that one day we will be able to stand before God, having trusted in him and relied on him to deliver us. Next week, we'll go further in our study in the giants of faith as we try to increase our faith in these troubling times. Let's be prayerful, let's be careful, and let's be safe. God bless you.